Denise, DBK, you're up.
Hey, Justin, thank you so much. I'm a hockey mom, got a college hockey boy who now is in the business world. And you said something, I dropped it in the chat, but he and I were just talking about we had a lot of trauma in our lives, and the trauma made us think that everything had to be hard.
Mm.
And making things harder than they need to be to feel like that sense of achievement, like I did something somebody else couldn't do because I made it harder, right? And I really appreciate the way that you talk about, you know, not just owning it, but really like listening to what's inside. How do you help people tie their values and get to like what's really inside when there are high achievers? Like I'm an overachiever. I grew up in the business world where everything was glamorized. If you were sleeping 5 hours a night, then you were doing better than the people who slept eight. Those people who are lazy,
Yeah.
right? So how do you get people to like really get to that internal piece?
Yeah, it's a great question. And I'm going to start with a little story. So about 6 years ago, as I was, again, trying to figure out who I was, this identity piece, this is why even going back to what Paul said, like your identity is the first thing that we need to work through. It's why I just love the work we do, because a lot of it, it's health and performance based, this and the identity is in disguise, because nobody's going to say I have an identity issue. I need to find out who I am. But when we actually come back to it, this is how your habits and behaviors are all built, is who do you see yourself as? And when we actually step into this in a powerful way, I went out and I knew I was wanting to leave the NHL, but I didn't know exactly what I wanted to do. I had my wife and I were struggling, and I didn't know who I was. And so every race I ran, I was winning them all. And I was just like, I need to keep doing hard things because that's who I am. If I'm not winning, I'm not good enough. I'm not showing that I'm good. So I went out and I set out and I did my own 100-mile race, set up a track, and was going to do 400 laps of this thing, set up my own system and everything. On mile 900, on mile 99.5, mile 99.5, I had this lack feeling in my stomach, the same pit that I felt all the time. Not good enough. You're not good enough. And as I was coming around, I heard this voice, and it was, your win is not finishing. And I was like, nah, can't be right. Can't be right. I have to finish. I got within a half a mile of finishing, and it got so loud. Your win is not finishing. And I started to sob. I stopped. I took a hard left. I jumped the fence and I walked home. And I went, and at that moment, I realized who I actually was. The hard thing for me was stopping. That was my hard, because I had to figure out who I was. Nobody cared. No one was at the finish line. No one was watching. But it was knowing who I was inside, and I had to heal that person. And I come back now to what I call the fruits of the Spirit: patience, kindness, love, gentleness, self-control, faithfulness, hopefulness, joy. If there's no fruit of the Spirit in the actions you're taking, it's not where you're supposed to be. Anxiety, fear, overwhelm, frustration, bitterness, resentment, anger, none of these are fruits of the Spirit. So you constantly are angry when you go to the gym in the morning? Well, maybe going to the gym in the morning isn't the thing that you're supposed to do. Maybe you're actually supposed to be at home walking your dog, and that's where you're supposed to start, because you have to heal internally. Maybe when you go to work in the morning and you're bitter and resentful, maybe it's a sign to you that there's something else there that you should actually be unpacking. And the hardness of where it is actually not where you're supposed to be. It's only when we can align fruits of the spirit with what we're doing, that we can heal internally and then step in powerfully to what we do. There's a difference between something being difficult and something being challenging and something helping us grow to something being hard.
I love it. Thank you.